Today the topic I want to discuss about is it's a very interesting topic that I got the idea from my last video only. Second last one, in where I discussed about how to manage your time for working professionals in different other fields. So there, in the comment section, someone asked me about that particular person was facing problems with having, balancing between the mundane practice, riwaz, or the basic practice, with like extempore practice or imaginative practice, like that. So he said that he faced the problem, like if he is practicing in a basic practice mode, then he can't, it's very difficult for him to switch to the imaginative mode of practicing, or practicing in a very aesthetic way, and vice versa, and opposite. So I found that very interesting, because then I thought that it's the same thing that I also faced, and I still face it, but I did find some ways to counter that problem. So that's what I will try to share. Whatever I felt was like how to tackle your mundane basic practice with the imaginative or the extempore performance practice. Actually that word is performance practice is good, because when it's a very different scenario when you are practicing at home and when you are performing on stage. People talk about simulating scenarios. In sports also we know that this happens. They simulate the exact situation, but it will never be 100%. How much you try to simulate with whatever artificial ingredients you give to your home surrounding to make it look like and feel like that you are performing in front of the audience, it will never be the actual thing. Because in your mind, in your subconscious mind, you will always know that you can afford mistakes, right? You can afford mistakes. So that's why we always play way better when we are playing alone or not in front of people. When we go to perform in front of people, the surrounding changes. There is the attention of unknown people. The performance barely keeps up to 30% of what we play at home. So people talk about simulation, but that doesn't work. Whereas in balancing between a basic practice session and practicing the performance oriented practice or something like that, we can actually bring a balance. And the main step is you have to think in the line of how do I make my practice more interesting, more challenging. So how do you make your practice more challenging? Logically, if you take that, you have to think again, you have to make it a subtopic of that what is easier to you. the practice materials that you practice, what comes easier to you and what is difficult for you. You know that you have to acknowledge that these things like ekhara tans or this type of things maybe is difficult for you. Maybe playing meets is difficult for you. Maybe doing the timing right of meets or slides is difficult for you. Maybe gamak is easy for you. So we should first try to demarcate what is difficult for us and what is easy for us in our practice mode. Then we should try to practice that which is more difficult and uncomfortable for us. We should try to practice it more and give more attention to that part. But that doesn't mean that you should neglect what comes easier to you. That should also be given attention, proper attention. This is one thing. And another thing in this segment is that when you have a performance coming up, then you should do the opposite thing. You should focus on your strength only, not your weakness or that which comes difficult to you. Because in a performance, you have to showcase your knowledge about music, what you know about the rag and tal, and that which comes easier to you are the tools that you will use to showcase that music. So it's no use focusing on the difficult things prior to a performance. So you must focus on what comes naturally to you, what is easier to you before a performance. But apart from that, when you don't have any performance, the challenge should be to focus on things that are difficult to you, and the challenge and the roadmap is to make those difficult things easier to you. That is the thing, that is the way to make your practice more interesting and challenging. Maybe I should say it opposite, make it challenging yet interesting. So suppose these are all talks that I'm just saying. Let me give you an example. So suppose some of you may have problem with meets or slides that are played in alap. These are slides. So suppose you have problem in this section. So you should practice this section first of all. So how to practice? There are innumerable, your guru will tell you there are many things like using paltas and two-note paltas, just slides. Three-note, four notes. So there can be paltas of 2 notes of slides, 3 notes, 4 notes, 5 notes. how will you practice? Suppose 3 note palta. This is one method. Another way to make it interesting, as for example, is you think of jati, okay, in rhythmic patterns. You take this as tisra jati, 3 note tisra jati. Like this. Then you make it chatusra jati. You add one gap or pause. Then you make it 5. You can make it 6, you can make it 7, 6. So notes are 3. Okay. So the starting notes were 3. You just change them according to the jatis. It will give you newer practice materials. You will make your own practice materials. Then you can make it much more interesting if you take one particular rag. So this is, I was playing the Purbi scale. Re and Dha is Komal, Ma is Tibra. And so in Purbi scale you have Puriya Dhanasri. So in Puriya Dhanasri, how will you practice these things? Okay, so we are taking the basic practice of a That or a parent scale, Purbi That. We are taking that basic practice and slowly migrating it with a rag, and then we will enter performance. Okay, how I will show. So Purbi That, you take Puriya Dhanasri. Those who you all know a little bit about Puriya Dhanasri is Ni Re, not Ni Sa Re. So Dhanisa will be there. Dhani Sa Re will not happen. Ni Sa Re will not happen. So Dhani. Next 3 note will be Ni Re Ga. Ni Sa Re will not be there. So next Re Ga Ma. Ga Ma Pa. You can do Mapadha also, but you have to come back. Then you go Madhani. Then like this. So you have to think. See, your mind, the rag is making your mind to think. You cannot do. You can do Mapada, Padani you can do if you are practicing the That or the parent scale, Purbi That. That is the basic practice. Okay. But when you are migrating this same, copy-pasting this same pattern of practice into a rag of that particular parent scale, Puriya Dhanasri doesn't allow Padani. So you can't do Padani. You have to do Mapadha, then come back again to Ma and then go Madhani. So you can see this is the very basic way to migrate your basic practice to interesting, aesthetic, performance, impromptu, whatever you say. Not impromptu will go next. Now you put this practice, put this thing, set this thing in a vilambit krat, vilambit bandish. Okay. I don't have a tabla with me now. There, with the tal, in the tal, basic tempo, vilambit bandish, you practice it in the same rag structure, and you try to think of a finishing. It can be a tehai, or just it can just return back to the mukra and everything. In another video I will show that it will take some preparation to do. So this is one of the way there. If you start practicing thinking about in this pattern, this is unending process. Not just meats, it can be jhala, it can be tan, it can be bol, it can be anything. It can be tehai, it can be laikari, it can be jati, it can be ragdari, it can be anything. This is one way. Another way is people think that, okay, I am coming back from my workplace, I will sink into music, that the topic I used in the second last video. But actually it's not, it doesn't work that way. Maybe I am contradicting myself, but I needed to post that video before I tell what I am going to say now. You have to be in the background of in your mind. You have to always in sync with music. Whenever you are doing job, okay, you do a job, but you got 5 minutes or 10 minutes in between break. You can use that. You don't need your instrument. You don't need your surroundings. At least I don't needed it. I didn't need it. I used to travel by bus to my hometown from Kolkata. It was very boring, the bus. I was counting, always counting, like gut or the laikari or anything. I took a particular rag of that time, and na tin da 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 da, like this is the tabla to me, and what I am singing in my mind is my instrument sarod. I am not I didn't practice in the vocal style, no. I was singing but not in the vocal style. If I use the drut bandish, I did like da din da da din da na din na din da 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 da, like this. Even fraction tals, di na di na di na di na di na di. This is when, and people outside will not recognize that what I am doing. I'm just like this. I'm doing just like this. Mind my word, this works, really works. If you can do it, honestly, if you want to do it, that's it. Next is when you are in a performance, you just try to think that what the performer is trying to think, like that. I mean, there's no end to practice, no end to practice. And if you really want, there is the ways will open for you. Like you can't shift from basic to imaginative practice. You need to do it yourself. The guru cannot tell you. Guru can only show you the ingredients. No one can tell you. You yourself have to find the way. Yourself, no one. believe me. So you need to, what you really need to do is you have to have that will, that I need to find a balance between my basic practice and my performance practice. That when I am doing performance practice, I need to incorporate the basic things in that style, in that mode. And these things happen, these things can be done. And it's already 21 minutes, but still this subject is so vast, this particular topic is so vast that maybe I need 1 hour or 1.5 hours. This has to be a workshop like a thing. I can't do that in a YouTube. I am just doing in a very, very basic setup with my mobile and Amazon cheap Amazon via microphone. Nothing. So I have my limitations here, but what I wanted to say, that you can practice the whole day if you want, if you really want, wherever you are. It doesn't matter. Even in Howrah station, in very busy place, Sialda station or Howrah station, I have done that. I was sitting in the platform and I am thinking of rag, some rag and some tal, and I can do that. That doesn't mean that I am totally unaware of my surroundings. No, it goes on in the back of my mind. That is most important, and that is a practice. You will find it difficult. Yes, accidents have happened. Many times I have put rice to boil, it has burnt in the beginning, but then a second mind, with practice it begins to form, and that is very, very essential for musicians, also for working professionals who are passionate about music. What I want to say is that this particular video is for them only, that those who are not pursuing as music as a professional musician, but they have some other things to do, but still they need to do music for music itself only, not for fame or money or anything. Those people, you should also keep in mind that music is 24-hour thing. You have to be in sync. You don't have to practice for 24 hours, but you have to be in sync with music. You cannot just chop and copy and paste your 24-hour framework. You can't do that with music. You need to be, and it's possible. You can do your job, and it will help in the long run. So that is it. Thank you.